You are 34. You rent an apartment on the fourth floor of a building you have lived in for 3 years. The lease renews in April. You will probably sign it again. Your colleague closed on a house last Thursday. He sent a photo to the group chat. Front door, key in hand. 17 people reacted with a house emoji. You sent one too. You are not behind. You keep telling yourself you are not behind. The telling is starting to feel like a second job. Everyone around you is buying. And you are still. Here, same fourth floor, same April lease, same quiet that arrives after the notification disappears, and you put the phone face down on the counter and don't pick it up again for a while. This is what that life actually looks like, not the version people warn you about. The real one. It doesn't begin as pressure. It begins as information. Someone from your college group buys first. A townhouse 40 minutes outside the city, 3 bedrooms, a yard. You visit once and drink wine on a back patio and think it is nice in the way that things are nice when they belong to someone else. Then a second person buys, then a third. The group chat develops a rhythm, closing day photos, paint color debates, a thread about which dishwasher is worth the money. You participate. You have opinions about dishwashers. You do not own one. At work, the conversation finds you without being invited. Someone asks if you are looking. You say not right now. They nod the way people nod when they think they understand something they don't. You see the calculation happening behind the eyes. Not ready. Probably the down payment. Maybe something else. You don't explain. There is no version of the explanation that doesn't sound like defense. The math was never the obstacle. You ran the math. You ran it more carefully than most of the people who bought ran it. You looked at the monthly payment, and the insurance, and the property tax, and the maintenance reserve that every financial article says should be 1% of the home's value every year, and you compared it to your rent. The gap was not what people assumed it was. You also looked at your job, the industry that has moved you twice in 4 years, the city you like but have never been certain about, the life that is still assembling itself in ways that a 30-year mortgage does not accommodate easily. You chose the lease, not because you couldn't choose the mortgage, because the lease fit the life you were actually living instead of the one that photographs well. Nobody took a picture of that decision. Nobody sent a house emoji. You are 35. A family member asks at dinner when you are going to stop throwing money away on rent. You have heard this sentence so many times it has lost its shape. You know the counter-arguments by memory. Opportunity cost of the down payment. Transaction costs on both ends of a home purchase. The equity that doesn't build in the first years, because the early mortgage payments are almost entirely interest. The flexibility premium that renting quietly provides, and that nobody prices correctly because it has no line on a spreadsheet. You know all of it. You don't say any of it. You say you are still figuring it out and pass the bread. The thing about the throwing money away argument is that it assumes the alternative is free. The mortgage interest is not equity. The property tax builds nothing. The new roof is not an investment. It is a roof. It costs $14,000, and then you have a roof, and the money is gone the same way. Rent money is gone. Except you also had to find the contractor and manage the timeline and live without a functioning ceiling for 11 days in November. Your rent buys you the ceiling. It buys you the call to the landlord at 9 p.m. when the heat stops working. It buys you the ability to be in a different city in 60 days if the right opportunity arrives. These things have value. The value is invisible on a balance sheet, which is why people keep telling you that you are throwing money away. You are not throwing money away. You are buying options. Options are the most expensive thing in any financial market, and most people spend their lives trying to acquire them, and then give them all away voluntarily for a key and a photo for the group chat. You don't say this at dinner either. You pass the bread again and change the subject to something easier. Here is the part that doesn't make it into any conversation about renting versus buying. The down payment you didn't spend is somewhere. You put it somewhere the day you decided not to buy, and you have not touched it since. $60, 0 at 34 invested in a low-cost index fund. Quietly, automatically. Every month the contribution runs without you approving it. Every month you do not redecorate a living room you do not own, or replace an appliance that breaks on someone else's timeline. Your net worth grows in a register nobody checks. There is no Zillow estimate for a brokerage account. Nobody sends a congratulations when it crosses $80, zero. There is no group chat notification for index funds. But the math runs whether or not anyone is watching it. The colleague who bought the house that Thursday has a different math. He put $65, zero down. He has a mortgage at an interest rate that made sense when he locked it and makes a different kind of sense now. His monthly payment is $2, 900. His property tax is $4, 800 a year. His HVAC system is original to the house, and his home inspector noted it with the specific language that means it will need replacing soon. He is building equity, that part is true. He is also building a list of things that the equity is already promised to. Neither of you is wrong. You need to understand that clearly before the rest of this means anything. He is not foolish, and you are not wise. You simply made different bets on different versions of your own future, and both bets are live and neither has paid out yet. The discipline in your version is the part nobody narrates. The savings rate you maintained without the social reinforcement of a closing day photo. The investment account you kept funding through the months, when every conversation made you feel like you were falling behind. The choice to measure your progress in a currency nobody around you was tracking. That is the quiet work. It doesn't photograph, it compounds. You are 36. Two things happen in the same year, and they are not related and they feel related anyway. The first is that your rent goes up $340 at renewal, not a request, a number in an envelope. You can sign, or you can move, and moving costs money and time, and you sign. The feeling that arrives with the signing is not quite anger. It is closer to the specific powerlessness of a rule you agreed to live inside. The second is that the colleague who bought the Thursday house sells it 18 months later when his company transfers him to another city. He nets $31,000 after agent fees and closing costs and the HVAC that did exactly what the inspector predicted. $31,000 for 18 months and all the weekends that went into it. You do not feel vindicated. You want to be clear about that. There is no satisfaction in watching someone else absorb a cost. You have been on the other side of a financial miscalculation, and it does not feel like a lesson. It feels like losing something. What you feel instead is a quieter thing, a recognition that the certainty people spoke about homeownership with was never quite as solid as the tone implied. That the math people dismissed when you ran it was in fact the math. That the decision you made without ceremony or group chat was made with more information than most people credited you for having. You signed the new lease. $340, more a month. You increase the automatic investment contribution by $200 and absorb the rest. The account crosses $110, zero. Nobody sends a house emoji. You are 37. A company in a city you have thought about for 2 years makes you an offer. The kind of offer that 3 years ago you would have had to calculate around a mortgage, around the transaction costs, around the market timing, around whether you could rent it out or find a buyer in a window that didn't cost you the opportunity itself. You calculate around a lease instead. The lease ends in April. The offer starts in May. The math is clean in a way that only flexibility makes possible. You say yes without a spreadsheet. You say yes the same week. You put your things in boxes on a Saturday. The apartment looks the way apartments always look when the furniture is gone, smaller than you remembered and larger than it felt. You leave the keys on the counter, the way the lease instructs, and you close the door on the 4th floor for the last time. No photo, no group chat. The brokerage account moves with you, the dollar. 131,000 that grew without a zip code attached to it travels in the same app, on the same phone in your pocket. It doesn't need to be listed. It doesn't need a new address. It doesn't need to be sold to something you can afford in the new city before you've learned which neighborhood you actually want to live in. You rent again in the new city, different building, different floor, same April lease structure. Your net worth is not in the walls. It never was. That was the bet. That was always the bet. There is a version of this story where the renters lose, where the market runs so far so fast that the people who waited are permanently priced out, where the equity compounds faster than the index fund, where the stability of the owned home turns out to be worth more than the options it cost. That version exists. It has happened to people, it will happen again. There is also the version you lived, where the flexibility was the point, and the point paid off, where the discipline happened without an audience, where the money grew in a register, nobody checked, while everyone around you was photographing their front doors. Neither version is the lesson. The lesson is earlier than that. The lesson is that the loudest financial advice in any room is almost never the most carefully reasoned. That the house emoji is a social signal dressed as a financial argument. That throwing money away is a phrase people use when they mean, I made a different choice, and I need yours to be wrong for mine to feel right. You are 37, you rent, your net worth is $130, 1,000 and moving. The city outside is new, and the lease runs through April and in April you will decide again with all the information April brings. The fourth floor is behind you now. What it bought you is standing next to you in every room you walk into from here. You didn't throw anything away, you just kept it somewhere. Nobody thought to look.